Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome again today to another session with me. And today we'll still be staying on pull request for today. So I would like to give like a recap of what we did in the last class, and then dive into what we are going to do today with the pull request. So in our last class, we were able to fork a repository. Then we added new code to that repository that we forked on a new user's end, right? On another user's end, we added some code, and when we were done, we couldn't just push our code to the original repository. And when I say original repository, I'm talking about the repository that we forked from. So the only way we could do that was to create a pull request. We had to wait for the user of that repository to review that pull request and then accept that particular pull request. And when the user did that, then our code change appeared inside that user's repository. So today we are going to be doing something different. What we're going to be doing different today is we are not going to fork a repository. So because I explained that forking a repository means that you're creating a copy of that repository in your own GitHub profile. So it seems like you're the one that you have control of what happens over there. Any code change you make there does not affect the original repository. And I also talked about Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, how Ethereum Classic is a fork from the original Ethereum project. But from that particular point where Ethereum Classic was forked from, they have like it was the same code. But at that moment where it was forked, the Ethereum Classic had whatever new changes they were going to make there. The branch deviated at that particular point. So Ethereum has its own features that were now different from what Ethereum Classic was going to have. But if you look at the history prior to that, you could see that they are the same thing. So in today's class, I don't want to actually use the fork project. I want to work on Amobi Bikobe's original project. I want to be able to add code directly to that particular project. And so I'm going to start today by first of all, I'm going to use the git remote command to show you the repository we are on, and then I'll be cloning that project again from scratch. I don't want to use this particular repository because if I run git remote -v here, we can see that this repository is pointing to Victor Rex 27, and I want to be working with the one pointing to Amobi Bikobe. So I want to make change directly on his own code. I want to be able to transform his code directly. I don't want to have this stored. I don't want to have a copy of this stored in my own repository. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change directory, move one step up. Then I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to call it Amobi's Animals. So I'm going to make directory. That command is make directory. And then I'm going to name this Amobi _ animals. And then I'm going to copy that particular repository. Let me get it from the chat here. This is it. I'm just going to open it and then copy it from Git. So this is my browser. I'm opening it here. So by now, we know that we are going to go to this particular bring button here. Okay. I can see contributors. You can see that we have two different contributors. this is the original owner, and then this is me when I made some changes from that forked repository, and then the pull request stuff we did in the last class. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to select SSH first because I have SSH set up in my system. I'm going to click on this and copy. So I'm going to do a git clone, and then I'm going to paste that, and then I'll write the name of the folder I want to clone this into. Then hit enter. You can see that we're cloning into amobi_animals. So I'm going to type code amobi_animals. So that VS Code is going to open it up for me. I think I can close this folder now. Then I can work with this. Okay. I open my terminal. Yes, I trust this auto. I can see the last change that was made there. So when I run git remote -v, I'm not going to see VictorX, but I'm going to see amobi because I'm working directly in his repo. Git remote -v. Okay, I have that set up. So I'm going to make a change here. Since in info text 1 we have this file is going to contain the name of certain animals. Info text 2, okay, let me try and let me make this. How can I classify animals again? Let me see. So in this file I'm going to modify it to have scientific names of animals, and then I'm just going to put some animals here. I have Panthera Indio, I have Usus actus, I have Canis lupus, I have Homo sapiens, which I believe Elephas maximus. So I'm going to be pushing this particular code as VictorX27 because the user I'm using right now is VictorX27. We have this particular user. We can do a git add that dot to add this particular code and git config git commit -m and add scientific names of animals. Remember I told you that when you're writing your commit message, it's not in the past tense but in the present tense. So I'm going to hit this, and then we've committed this particular code to our local repository. So the next thing we need to do is to push it. And I just want you to think about this. What do you think is going to happen when I push this code as a user that is not the original user that created this code? Just think about that for a moment. So I'll go ahead and write it and try to push this. Git push and hit enter. We can see that the error message we got is, please make sure you have the correct access rights and the repository exists. So we are getting a permission error here. error permission to this denied to victorx27. See that we can't just push a code. I can't write a code right on my own GitHub repo, and then because it's public, you see it, and you just make change to my code. That's not possible. And that's why previously in our last class, we had to fork that particular repository, make our change on that repository, and then raise a pull request to that particular user that I've made a change to your code, and I don't know, you probably might like what I just did. Do you want to add it to your code? So this is the way we can actually work on somebody's project. One of the ways we can work on someone's project is just to do this. Now, the second way is the person might actually know that you're part of his team, you're in his team, his or her team, and grant you right access to collaborate with he or she on this particular code. So the way to do that is the person needs to go to his own GitHub profile, his or her GitHub profile, and then add you there. That's the way to do this. So I'm going to move on to the second system. Logged in as Amobe Bikobe, and I will be adding victorx27 as a collaborator so that victorx27 can actually make changes to can directly work with me as Amobe Bikobe on this particular project in this particular repository. Remember, this is not the forked repository. This is the original repository that belongs to Amobe Bikobe. I'm just going to head over to my GitHub account here and open that particular project. Now, if I come to settings here, you can see that the last change was made 2 days ago. So the changes of today is still on that particular system. It's not yet here. Even though I forked the project and then the project was accepted and merged in this particular code, and you can see that victorx27 is showing as a contributor. It doesn't mean that victorx27 can now go over to this project and start making changes here. No, if he wants to work with me this way, he still have to work on that fork period. But if he wants to work directly on this project, directly on this particular repository, I, as Amobe Bikobe, I need to come to this repository, go to settings. You can see where settings is up here. So I just clicked on settings, and that's why I can see this. Now, the first thing I will see under access is collaborators. So I'm going to click on collaborators. Collaborators are those that are allowed to work with me on this particular project. I click on collaborators, and you see that under manage access, you haven't invited any collaborators yet. So this is like the reason why I'm getting that particular error as victorx27, because I haven't been invited to collaborate with Amobe Bikobe on this project. Even though the project is public and visible to anyone, it's visible. So it's what we call like you have read access, but you can't write on it. You can't write on it. And you can see it says 0 collaborators have access to this repository. Only you can contribute to this repository. So the only way others can contribute to this repository right now is by forking it and then creating a pull request, which I have to review and accept and merge. So I'm going the second route. I'm going to invite victorx27 to this particular, to work with me on just this particular project, this particular repository, not any other one that I have, but just this one. So I click on add people. So I'm going to clear this. So it says search by username, full name, or email. So I can just search by username. So I'm going to invite victorx27, and I'm going to say add victorx27 to this repository. So this invite is pending. So I have to go back to the other system as VictorX27 and accept this invite. Previously, I was trying to get this invite via email, but I'm having an issue with that. So I just logged into GitHub and then I can see the invite on GitHub itself. It says Amobi Bikobe has invited you to collaborate on this repository. So I can just view the invite. Let me see if I can see that in the notification, because you probably might not be logged into the repository itself when you get this invite. Oh, okay, yep. So you can see this button here. I clicked on this. This is the button I clicked on, and I can see my inbox. And I have a lot of inbox here. Please just ignore the rest. And I can see the one that says invitation to join Amobi slash animals from Amobi Bikobe. I'm going to click on that to open it. I don't want to see what it looks like. Amobi Bikobe invited you to collaborate. I'm going to accept the invitation. So it says you now have push access to this. So I'm going to go back to the code. I'm going to try the git push again this time around. Git push. So we can see that it's now possible to push our code from our repository this way. We don't actually have to fork the project. We don't have to go through that route because it's a long route. I'm a team member on this particular project and I can push my code. I did something very wrong here, which I said we are not to do. I pushed from the main branch. It's also possible we can actually do those settings where we restrict users from pushing directly to the main branch, but for this particular class, I won't do that. So what I'm going to do, one thing I'm going to do here is, since I told you that this is actually wrong, I'm going to create a new branch and then I'm going to add new code the way we are supposed to do it. Then I will push this code and create a pull request as this user so that the other user can see it. So I'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to do git checkout -b to create a new branch. I'm going to call it feature science. What's wrong with my spelling today? Science name. Okay, I'll switch to that new branch. So I'm going to just add one more animal. I got all these animals from Google, so I actually don't know them. Felis, Cactus, and then I'm going to be adding to the staging area, and then I'll be committing this particular code to my local repository. Git add dot git commit -m add Felis Cactus, then I'm going to hit enter. Now I can push this particular branch. I'm just going to use git push. So since this is the first time I'm pushing this, I'm going to see git push. I'm going to set upstream, and I'm going to say origin and feature science name. So this is a command I'm going to use to push it, because I got the previous message that says that I needed to set upstream. I wasn't able to push it because there was no upstream branch with that name. So now I have done that here. The next thing I can do is now to go to my GitHub page and then create a pull request directly on Ubiquitous repository. So I'm not merging into the main branch, which you can see that it's possible for me to do that, but I'm showing you the process that we need to do if you're working on a team. You're not going to be merging directly to the main branch because a lot of changes might be happening there. So you need to raise this pull request. And then the supervisor or the person that is assigned with the task of reviewing the request reviews it and then approves it so that you can actually then merge it, or he or she merges it themselves, right? So I'm going to click on this. You can see that feature science name had recent pushes 43 seconds ago. So I'm going to compare this and create a pull request. So when I'm making the pull request, always look at the base branch. The base branch is the main branch I'm trying to merge my change into, and feature science name branch is a feature branch I'm trying to merge from, right? So a pull request in essence is still me sending a request that to the owner of the repository or to the person that is assigned the task of reviewing the pull request that I want to pull this particular change or these changes into a particular branch, which in our example is the main branch. So I'm just going to leave this at Felix Catus, and I'm going to do the same thing for description. Your description can be more detailed or should be more detailed, but for this example I'm just going to do that. I'm going to paste that here, and I'm going to create a pull request, and I'm going to wait for Ubiquitous to do the rest. When this pull request is created, we can see that we are able to merge with the branch. We don't have any diverging change for now. There is no conflict, so we are fine and good. And you can see that I have the tag of a collaborator. So move to this. It's checking for ability to merge automatically. Let's hold on for that. When this check is done, then yes, it's done. We can see that there is no conflict. So I'm going to log back in as Amobile Victor on the other system. Now I'm on the other system. Remember, the last thing we tried to do here was to invite Amobile Victor. So I'm going to refresh this page. Now we can see that he has accepted and is now a collaborator. He can actually add code to this particular repository. So I have the one has access to this. I can check whoever I've given this access to my repository. So I'm just going to head over to the main code. We'll forget about this for now. Let's head over to pull request. And now I can see that I have a new pull request. Oh, I have another pull request from Joseph, so I'm going to check that later. Let me just merge this particular one. So this is me. I'm reviewing it. I can see that I haven't set up those rules yet. So those are part of the rules I said. We can actually make this make it not so easy for someone to just create a pull request and merge into the main branch, but we are not doing that for now. So as Victor X27, I've seen that this code is good enough and I want to merge it into my main branch, and I confirm it. and then done. And I can choose to delete this particular branch. Yes, and I've deleted that. And then if we go back to our code, we can see that we added this 6 minutes ago. And so this is how we work in a team. So to just do a recap, in this particular class, what we tried to do was not to use the fork method to collaborate on the project. This time around, as a user, I added another user as a collaborator on this project. And so that user is able to push directly, make changes on this particular repository. And we went through the framework of the user being able to create a pull request, which I have to review, accept, and then merge to the code. This was all we just did today. So thank you for joining the class again, and don't forget to like and subscribe. So we'll be having another meeting in some days time or next week. Yeah, thank you very much.